hepsi senin yüzünden.
Mustang. Mustang is a film I was really looking forward to watching for the past few months, and the trailer looked really good. And the film sucks. But it's not even the fact that the film was disappointing. It was kind of exploitive, to be honest. Okay, so what's the story about? Mustang is a film which takes place in a Turkish village. 5 free-spirited young girls are trapped into a house for illicit behavior by their elders. But with their fierce love for one another, they feel empowered and end up creating a bond that can't be broken by any force created by the conservative antagonists. In terms of storytelling, it's very poorly written, but I'll try to articulate the problems as clearly as possible. Mustang has certain glaring flaws when it comes to portraying the female characters on screen. Yeah, I know, the film is a coming-of-age story about women who want to be empowered, and the heart of the story seems to be in the right place, but the writing seems so utterly mundane. The film keeps switching back to the compare and contrast formula of storytelling. So on one hand, there are several scenes of the girls in scantily clad outfits, cheerful and having fun together, followed by the big bad uncle or grandmother using brute force to trap their sense of freedom. And every time, you can always anticipate this so-called formula to be repeated again and again and again. And after a couple of times, it just gets incredibly tedious. When it comes to the humor of the film, the jokes were utterly predictable. For example, when the future in-laws come to visit, there's bound to be a joke about the food that they're serving. Or the old Turkish woman being utterly clueless how technology works. If the audience can see a joke coming miles away, then what's the point of having them? It would have been really better if they just played the film straight. Also, a lot of times, the set production looks extremely cheap. There's a scene in the film where the girls sneak into a football match. And oh god, it was so obvious that they couldn't afford to shoot inside a real football stadium. Like, really? You're just gonna show the girls celebrating at the stands and not even cut to the match itself? And don't give me this bullshit that it's about artistic reasons. Now, I mentioned how the film is exploitive when it comes to traditional culture, and it was kind of appalling at times. I don't come from Turkey myself, but I understand what it's like to come from an Eastern traditional or cultural background where values triumph over individual freedom. And I understand such foreign ideas might seem absurd in the West, but to present them in such two-dimensional manner is just plain ridiculous. Now, before everyone jumps on me, let me explain myself. I'm not saying that these incidents don't happen in Turkish villages, but there has to be more clever ways to depict this without insulting the intelligence of the audience. My point being, the film takes the easy way out and not allowing the audience to decide for themselves. Should we go for traditional values or should we go for modern values? The script seems like it never even went beyond the first draft. Some of the events that happen in the film are so unnecessary and utterly absurd that I had no clue what to make of them. So I'm gonna talk about some spoilers now, so if you haven't seen the film, click on the link here to skip the spoilers. Okay, so I'm not gonna talk about the spoilers. So it is later revealed that there has been a certain act of forced incest going on between the uncle and one of the girls. This revelation comes so out of the blue that it just felt surreal and unnecessary. Sure, the uncle's way of honor is blinded by conservative traditional methods, but this twist was just ridiculous and served no purpose to the plot at all. Not really sure what the intention of the director was behind this revelation. It is obvious that we as an audience are supposed to hate the antagonist, but they also need to have certain motivations for their actions. The film is too blind to its thematic setting and what it's supposed to do with it. So they just go for the lowest common denominator of storytelling. Have the girls get beaten, raped or abused repeatedly without any particular reason. The film really needed a scene where the uncle had a talk with the girls, trying to make his actions and reasoning understandable. Even if it's a complete false notion, even if he's a horrible person, there still has to be some three-dimensional aspect to him. But no, he's just inherently evil and has no empathy towards anyone whatsoever. This is just bad writing, to be honest. Okay, even though I totally took a shit upon the storytelling, there are a few redeeming factors about the film. The acting seems convincing from the young actresses, and at least they tried to inject a little more character into the narrative. The film is nicely shot, with many images creating a dreamlike state for the viewer. And the music blends well enough with the images. To be honest, this comes off as no surprise that Mustang was nominated for an Oscar for Best Foreign Film, since it really panders to what tickles their fancy. Mustang is a film I feel could have been a really great film under clever writing and a more talented and experienced director. But similar to Slumdog Millionaire, it completely loses the point as to how dark themes involving foreign cultures can be shown on film, and ends up painting everything black and white. And for that, I'm gonna give this film a 2 out of 5 stars.
Ortasında ne işiniz var sizin?
Ay köyün bütün kızlarını maç için Trabzon'a götüren otobüsü kaçırdık. Lütfen onu yakalamamıza
Deli misiniz,
yardım et.
nesiniz siz? Bana ne kardeşim? Ne yapayım ben şimdi?
Ya bizi götür.
Hayır götüremem.
Otobüse.
Götüremem.